Hey everybody, welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host Caleb.
Hi, I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
We had some goofs there, but it's okay. It's a pre-recorded episode, so it don't matter.
Yep.
Um,
You guys couldn't see that.
yeah. Um, today we're talking about Dark Droids, the entire arc, which includes this much comic. A little bit closer for. Yeah, so that's a lot of comic. 6 different trade paperbacks. Thankfully, we didn't read them as separate paperbacks. I kind of just edited them together into a continuant story with, I guess, some of it kind of flashing back as necessary to, like, a earlier point, but we'll talk about that when we talk about our actual review of it. We're going to do a kind of TLDR of what we've been up to this week. I rewatched Highlander for one. I've been also hardcore playing Fallout Shelter again. It's a nice little chill game.
I've continued my Bloodborne playthrough, got to Castle Cainhurst. I need to go and find this old guy and kill him. Other games I've been playing, I've resumed my Fallout 4 playthrough.
Hey.
And I guess I'm doing a Brotherhood run now.
Yeah, because you and I talked about it. Like, your problem was you weren't sure about, like, you wanted to do Minutemen, but you kind of unintentionally locked yourself more into Brotherhood.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
I'm in a weird situation.
Well, no, you wanted Institute. You mentioned you were working with the Institute more.
I'm working with everybody. So everyone's in this weird state of, we really want this guy on our side.
So now you're at the point where you have to pick a faction.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, because the game's like, we can't continue until you pick.
Mm-hmm. And I've done, like, my first fucking railroad mission. Where I'm like...
Which is what locked you into Brotherhood, because I think you fudged the railroad mission.
Nope. I guess technically I'm doing Deacon's companion quests now.
Okay.
And so I've done that. I'm still able to go, like, in and out of the Institute because they don't really keep track of who I'm working with.
Yeah. Anyways, we went deeper than we were supposed to. This is TLDR.
Yeah, so I guess I'm working with the Brotherhood now.
Okay. Anything else? That's pretty much it?
That's pretty much it. I mean...
That's fair. So let's jump into news. There's only one piece of news, and it's one that we did not expect to get, honestly. Yeah. It's one we were like, this is we had given up on this happening. Star Wars Hunters decided to release a launch date trailer, where they reveal that, yeah, it's coming out. And a lot sooner than we would have expected. Well, no. To be a lot sooner than we would have expected would have meant that it came out when in time.
Because it's like, what is it?
It's been 2 years, essentially.
It's been 2 years.
Like, 1 year since 1 year since the tie-in novel, but like 2 years since it was supposed to come out.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to come out before the tie-in novel wasn't a thing. Anyways, let's watch the trailer together. I do like that they kind of make it like watching an ESPN thing. Like they do the We're Not Quite ESPN theme song.
Yeah.
Did you watch this beforehand? I know I put it in the...
I did not.
Okay. Because I did put it in the Discord, but... It's not really showing any specific gameplay. It's more just showing who the fighters are, as well as kind of just giving us a date. I mean, we've seen gameplay before, though, unless it's been heavily altered since then. But like, it's a team shooter.
Looks like the main event is starting live on ORSN.
So, June 4th. So not even a month away.
When I was a kid, I
Well,
don't think there
okay.
was-
Well, by the time this comes out, not even a month away.
Mm.
Because remember, we have to, since we pre-record, we have to be aware of when the dates are. Also, I guess I should say this. Well, no, it'll be tomorrow. So it's exactly a month away. Sorry, when this airs. Also, tomorrow is Star Wars Day. When this airs. Once again, not throwing you off on reality of where we are. But when this airs, yeah, tomorrow's Star Wars Day, so we got a few things going on there. We got Tales of the Empire. It's also Free Comic Book Day. So we're getting 2 comic books that day. We're getting a... we can ignore that. That was one of the mistakes. We're getting a High Republic Adventures one, obviously, but then a Young Jedi Adventures one. So, both 2 one-shots for Free Comic Book Day. That's it for news, really. Let's kind of just get right into business with the review portion of the show. So, spoiler warning, because we are going to talk about everything about this arc.
So-
Not everything. If we did, it would be as long as our War of the Bounty Hunters episode. And we have told ourselves we will never do an episode that long ever again. So, we're going to try to hold that promise, although this comic might break us on that. I think if we had a guest, we definitely would have broken that promise.
Oh, yeah.
But also, all of our mutuals that are doing Star Wars stuff are out of town on today when we're recording. Most of them are at Disney doing a fun Star Wars Day thing at Disney. So, hope y'all had fun. So, what do we want to talk about first? Do we want to just jump to the ending? Or do we want to kind of talk... So, the premise... Okay, I will say, I initially thought Ajax was going to be the bad guy of this. Until they were like, nope, it's a whole nother droid threat. Because the previews for all this led us to believe
They
Ajax.
lead you to think that Ajax will be the problem, but he isn't.
In fact, he is the solution.
Yeah.
Although, he might be a problem later.
He might be a problem later, but he's not a problem right now.
Yeah. The problem now is kind of this unknown droid AI entity called the Scourge. And it kind of reminds me of the Drengir. But if it was a computer program. Because it's always hungry. And much like the Drengir who were locked on the Amaxine station by the Sith, so was the Scourge. The Scourge was also locked up by the Sith, and they were like, yeah, no, this is too dangerous. Even the Sith were like, this is bad.
And the Sith say, fuck this, we're not using it. It's a bad sign.
Yeah. And so we get reference that this is not the first time the Scourge has tried to take over everything, because the Scourge's thing is that it tries to take over all of the machines, and then ultimately it wants to take over everything. Because in order to feed its hunger, it has to become almost this parasitic relationship with everything. In kind of a hive mind. And the more it conquers as part of the hive mind, the less it's hungry. Except that's not true. We see that it hungers even more as it gets more. But that's its prevailing theory, is that if it controls everything, then hey, I won't be hungry anymore.
Yep.
But we see that that's probably not going to be true. We never see it come to full fruition, although it comes pretty damn close. It comes pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Because its goal is to also take over all of humanity, which is really where most of the plot is about, which is it's struggling to take that idea of going from machine to man. Because it's like, oh, I can take over all the machines easily. I just do programming. And then cyborgs or hybroids or whatever you want to call them, and they call them hybroids throughout because they're like hybrid droids. So characters like Valence, Lobot, and Magna are like the 3 prime targets of of the hybrid part of it. With Valence being the perfect hybrid because he is like 99% robot at this point.
Yeah.
And of course, we're also dealing with Valence's memory loss situation because of all the stuff that went down with him working for Vader and then trying to leave Vader, and all that storyline's also going on. We also get the ending of the Bounty Hunters comic as a whole from this arc. Well, and one issue after this arc, but we decided to count it as part of this review because it's literally one extra issue. So we were like, might as well. Because Bounty Hunters unfortunately did end after this run. So this is unfortunately the last time we will be talking about Bounty Hunters. Although, well, no, that's not true. We'll be talking about Bounty Hunters when we talk about the first couple volumes that we didn't talk about as part of the... Because there's a couple volumes we didn't talk about before the show started, because I don't think we talked about volumes 1 and 2 of Bounty Hunters.
Nope.
I think volume 3 was when the War of the Bounty Hunters started, and then we kind of just went from there, I think, is where... I think. I can confirm that very easily. Yeah. Yep. So, volumes 1 and 2. So, we'll get to talk about some past Valence, but there won't be much going forward with Valence, unfortunately. That we know of. We'll talk about that, though. I don't know how you felt about Valence as a character, if you really liked him or not. I mean, it feels like sometimes you did and sometimes you didn't when we've talked about him before, mainly because of your unsureness about cyborgs. But in Valence's case, you tended to give him, in the case of Valence, you tended to give him a pass, though, because his was life-threatening usually.
Yeah. I have to explain my cyborg thing now. About my
I think we've
opinion.
talked about it, but for new audiences.
So for those of you who are new here, I have a thing about cybernetics called don't get them just to be aesthetically pleased. Get them if you actually need them.
Yeah.
Like, if your arm gets cut off, I imagine you would want your arm back. But, like, if you're like, I'm gonna sever my own arm to, like, I don't know, because I want my arm blue.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Or I want, a cool fire flamethrower as my arm now.
Yeah. I was thinking about this, and it's surprising, like...
It's never usually a color reason, it's usually a tech reason,
Yeah.
to be fair. So aesthetically, it's still for tech reasons. It's not for, oh, I just want a cool color. I could just paint my arm if I was going to do that.
Yeah. But I do feel bad for Valence because this poor man
Yeah.
goes through a lot.
So you like Valence as a character overall, I would say, then.
Mm-hmm.
He's not somebody that you're
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Bosk might be that right now, but also I feel bad for him because he realizes he's made the wrong choice.
I'm not mad at Bosk. I'm just like...
You're disappointed.
I'm like, really, dude? You choose now?
So let's kind of get into it a bit,
Yeah.
to kind of explain. So, of course, we're getting all these point of views. What did you think of Lando's character arc in this? Because really, this is Lando's arc. Because Lando and Lobot's arc, I really loved this as Lando's arc.
I don't know a lot about Lando.
But this gives us a chance to... but I will say this kind of gives us an insight into him. At least with the flashbacks that we get with him.
Lando, I am the biggest liar ever, and I fucking love it.
But not to my best friend.
But not to my best friend Lobot, because I need at least one person who knows what I'm doing.
So, I feel like we really get an insight into Lando in this throughout this arc, and I really like that. I really like getting an insight, because Lando's not a front and center character except for a couple movies and shows here and there. Like, he's not, like, and usually it's like a cameo for a show, so like Rebels, he cameos for an episode, or for the video games, he cameoed in the non-canon games. No canon games really have him yet. And so, like, this is really his chance to shine as a character.
Lando is just like...
And, of course, you don't know, because you didn't see him do the thing that leads to what he does here, because that's part of the first few volumes of the Star Wars mainline for the 2020 run. So you didn't get to see him betray, quote-unquote, betray the... I'm trying to make sure I pull up the right one. Yeah, this is the right It was like volumes 1 through 2. Oh, once again, 1 to 2.
Mm.
So volumes 1 and 2. And I think volume 2 is where he gives up the old talkie.
I'm like, I would be mad at you, but I don't have the context for why I would be mad at you, kind of deal.
Yeah, so... No, he gives the talkie after. That's right. No, he gets... Because he talks about it's because of the events of War of the Bounty Hunters that he gives up the talkie, so we did see that.
Mm.
We didn't see them get the talkie, and we didn't see... Because that's volume 2. And we didn't see him do the... what is it? Where the talkie shows that he can make Lobot work, like, be himself functionally on a mental state.
Mm.
Because that's the whole premise of why Lando's like, we need the talkie because he can save Lobot.
Yep.
Because Lobot's whole thing is the cybernetic implants that the Empire gave him are slowly taking away his personality and making him more and more like a machine.
Yeah. They're going with, for Lobot and Valence, it's the whole cybernetics eat your soul thing.
Except in Valence's case, it's not the cybernetics that are doing that. It's specifically Imperial cybernetics that do that. But, like, it's specifically that he is just... Vader's pulled away so much of him. Like, because Vader legitimately took his memories from him.
Yep.
So that way he would forget.
You don't need this, and this, and this.
Because they make you too human, and then they make you care about people, and we don't want you doing that.
Yep.
So...
Meanwhile, Jyla's over here, like, I got a plan.
She's like, I'm no longer Imperial because I'm in love.
Yep.
And you know what? Good on you for making the right choice eventually. Took her a minute, though, but she got there. She got there. For those of y'all who don't know, Jyla Hayden is the character who was kind of like his handler for the Empire, essentially. Handler turned lover.
Yeah. She's, like, if you're on the Imperial side, she's his superior officer, technically.
But she was like a handler, because Vader was like...
That's what she operated more as in practice.
Yeah.
On paper, that's what it's supposed to be. But fuck the paperwork.
Yeah, so she was kind of his handler for the missions.
Mm.
Until they fell in love. And then he was like, I can't do this. I gotta go find my other love. And also, my brain is forgetting things.
Yep. Bye.
And so, that broke her heart. And apparently now we learned that enough for her to realize she made the wrong choices.
Mm.
That's kind of what's going on with the Bounty Hunters arc and also the Star Wars arc, which is Lando trying to save Lobot. Meanwhile, the Scourge is trying to get Lobot because it's like, oh, he's a puzzle piece to me figuring out how to go from machine to man.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Valence. The Scourge is after Valence.
Valence and Magna.
Yeah, and Magna in the Afra comics. We learned that there is one human that comes pretty close to getting scourged up, though, before Scourge can figure out a solution, though. That being Lady Domina Tag.
Mm-hmm.
Because although she also has a good bit of cybernetics in her, but not to the level of Valence or Magna, or like not to that level. Hers are more a couple implants here and there, because she's just a crazy scientist lady.
Yep.
And we get honestly a little bit more insight into Domina as well, with her like really caring about like her family legacy and surprisingly willing to sacrifice herself. And because I never thought I would see that day, and if I'm being honest, I never thought I would see the day where Domina Tag said, "Fuck it, if I die, I die."
Yeah, Domina like shoves Lepan in like an escape pod,
which is her assistant / cousin.
Yeah, and she's like, "Well, if I die, at least the corporation will live on with you."
Yeah, because you're the heir.
Yeah.
So
you're the one person I trust to not fuck anything up. And also, everyone else is dead.
Yeah, because her ships, the Tag Enterprises ships, are all
highly automated.
They are highly automated with very small amount of human or non-droid guards, and so Because of that, the Scourge obviously takes over those ships.
Yeah.
Although the first ship it takes over is actually a Star Destroyer, which becomes Scourge 1. And so kind of its base of operation.
Also, slight flashback before Domina says, I guess it's okay if I die. Afra is not doing well. Engaging in perhaps the most self-destructive behavior I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, because she's still heartbroken about the stuff with her and Santa.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's kind of like spiraling
Yeah.
to the point that she's willing to get into a relationship with Domina Tag, which I kind of get. Domina Tag is attractive, I get it. But
I get it. However, this is not good for you, Afra.
Yeah, this is a case of this is not even friends with benefits. This is just benefits.
Yep. And then she's like, you know where I'm gonna go get the one person I always call when I'm in trouble, and then I'm gonna go to a club and bring him with me, even though I know he's married.
Yeah, poor Lucky getting dragged
Yeah.
into this.
And it's like, Lucky's like, how come a great dialogue exchange is like, well, you always come to me when you're out of favors or friends, so I'm guessing you're out of both this time.
Oh, and then like
And
drags.
he's like, I'm the fucking. Why do you only call me when you're in the shit?
And then drags him into the shadiest planet ever.
Hmm.
And they both know it's super shady. And he's like, we probably shouldn't be here. We should be doing the job Tag hired us for.
And she's like, don't worry about it. It's fine.
And then gets laid, but also the stuff that
Yep.
she had stolen. Because
Basically,
basically,
Welcome to Galator 3, which is essentially a giant nightclub.
but also like a super shady nightclub where you should definitely be covering your drinks.
Mm-hmm.
That level of
Yep.
And so like the premise of their mission is
Some droid.
connected to the Scourge thing, in that it's some old droid that Domina designed for the Clone Wars that was never like fully implemented. Like she designed it for her parents when they were in charge because they were on the Separatist side. She designed this droid and they said, nah, too expensive essentially to make it.
Mm-hmm.
But they still made a bunch of prototypes because makes sense. You still make the prototype to kind of see how it would implement. And so, but some people were, I think it was like some random rebels were trying to buy it
They're like
or whatever.
something like that. But essentially, these droids were in storage.
Somebody
They
stole
activated
one. Well,
it.
somebody stole one.
Stole one.
And it activated randomly despite having no battery source.
Yeah.
They're
like, that was weird. You guys mind looking in? You want to look into this, Afra?
and
she's
so
like,
gives her the coordinates to like the rest of the vault of the other prototypes.
and Afra is like, you've got to think I'm crazy if you want me to go and trace down spontaneously activating droids that murder people.
But okay.
She's like, Domina, you'll be getting danger pay. I'm in.
Also, we're gonna jump back a bit to the like dark because we're kind of jumping all over the place. We should also mention why the Scourge is a problem right now, and it's because of the events of Crimson Reign of Empire, Hidden Empire. That was the last one, right? Because it was Crimson Reign, Hidden Empire, I believe.
I guess.
I can't remember the exact order. Hold on. Yeah, it was. I think it was Crimson Reign, Hidden Empire, because Hidden Empire didn't get its own Bounty Hunters crossover, so I think that's correct. Yeah, because Afra had the Spark Eternal at that time, and so so it was Crimson Reign, Hidden Empire. So at the end of Hidden Empire, the way that they stop Vader and Palpatine's plan, as well as messing with, because basically it's a way to stop them from stopping Lady Kira's plan, is they basically put the Spark Eternal that Afra currently had into a device. Well, first it went into Magna, then it went into a device that trapped the spark, and they left it on Maxine.
Mm-hmm.
Problem with that, that's where the Scourge was.
Yep.
And so the Scourge and Spark Eternal kind of melded. And so that's where Scourge got a lot of its ideas of, oh, I can also enter this. There is a possibility to enter humans because Spark Eternal has done it twice.
Yeah.
Actually, 3 times if
So
you want to
it's not
count.
impossible. I just need to figure out how.
Yeah, like 3 times technically if you want to count. What's her name? The one who invented Spark.
Hmm.
The Sith lady. I forget her name all of a sudden.
She's dead.
Yeah, she's been dead though. She's been dead for like thousands of years. So,
Sorry.
just her memory was left through
Yeah.
the Spark.
Sorry.
I guess if you're spiritual, I guess you could say she lived through the Spark, and therefore until the Spark killed her, then she died. But so maybe
I'm sorry. I was just having that like grade school thought of how come if you were so smart you're so dead. Which is not.
does not
how
count
that
when it's
works.
thousands of years though
Yeah.
apart. She would have been dead anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on and why Scourge is kind of becoming a problem now because it's like, oh, I can do this, and so it's kind of thanks to all those events of Hidden Empire that it's actually able to be free because it kind of broke all the prison walls essentially, which makes me. If we didn't know what happened to the God, it's a good thing the Dringir aren't still around because they would also be coming back right
That
now.
would have been bad.
Thankfully, that hive mind was killed.
Mm.
Once again, that's kind of why the Scourge kind of reminds me, because it has similar things. It's got the hive mind thing. It's got kind of this hunger that's insatiable, which is kind of what the Dringir were all about, too. They kind of just wanted to feed, feed, feed. So I'm seeing the similarities there. And also, I think it just makes sense because we're talking about a bunch of comic book writers who are probably working with a lot of the High Republic writers. We know Ethan is. We know Ethan Sachs, who wrote the Bounty Hunters, the entire Bounty Hunters comic. He did work with a lot of those High Republic authors pretty closely because he thanks some of them. Like, he thanks Charles. Which, although Charles is also, like, I think still the main... Yeah, he's still the main writer for the mainline Star Wars. So that's why he would work with him still. And so, like, he mentions Charles, and he mentions the Dr. Aphra, Alyssa Wong, who's also on the High Republic team.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got, I mean, so pretty much everybody who, the only ones that aren't really working on High Republic that are comic book writers are Greg Pak and Mark Guggenheim. Which, Mark Guggenheim being part of the Dark Droids arc is also explaining why the ending for Bounty Hunters comic. Because you saw my text, I was like, wait a minute. What is this doing here?
Like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I remember, like, I had finished earlier.
Yeah, you finished not too long before me.
Yeah.
It was like a day.
Yeah,
But
and I
also
was
because I was like spreading them out more.
I remember at the time you were like, I've been told I should be wary of the ending for it, and I'm like, I can't tell him. I can't tell him anything.
Also, we get the bounty. I kind of, that is some of the comics I did skip with some of the Bounty Hunters one because I had read some of those previously. So I kind of just skimmed them again just to kind of get to where I was in my reading for the Dark Droids arc, because the first couple issues of the Bounty Hunters one aren't really Dark Droid specific.
Yeah.
It's more of like leading up to the events of the Dark Droids arc, which is find Boba Fett so that way we can save Valance, because Boba Fett might know some information about where to go to save Valance, to get his memory back.
Yep.
But also we have to first do a job for Boba Fett as well. I did have to read that second one. I read the first one before, which was them getting Boba Fett. I'd read that one before. I really like the art, by the way, because I really like seeing Boba Fett without his mask in the comics, and I like how like they very much keep to the. He looks like the younger Tamura Morrison. He looks like Tamura, like, so Jango Fett and Boba Fett's real life actor. So he looks like Tamura Morrison did back during Attack of the Clones era. Because remember, we're talking about a clone of Jango Fett that that ages at a normal rate rather than the clone rate, which is two times speed. I think it's 2 times. I think that it's double, is what the rate is, and so like it just straight up looks like Tamura. That's just Tamura, and so.
Right. Tonga really was like, I need to get everyone.
Oh yeah, the team she hires is honestly a
gets,
dumb.
like,
It's honestly
an
a dumb team, and when like it's the A team. Like this is A-list bounty hunters and assassins, but also these are the people who are most likely to stab you in the back.
Yeah.
Um,
She's like, I've got Dirge, Nightstick, and
Deathstick.
Nightstick.
It's
Who the
Death.
fuck is Nightstick?
It's Deathstick.
Deathstick. Sorry.
And then
And fucking Bosk on her team.
well, Bosk was already on the team, sort of.
Yeah.
But she also gets Kel as the pilot, which she was in the Han Solo and Chewbacca comic, the Mark Guggenheim comic.
I'm like, congratulations. You've got
Oh,
the
as
best
well
in the business. However,
as well as a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
What's his name? I'm looking it up. I'm double checking what the name is because I forgot. Where is it? Where is it? It's the guy that starts a bar fight immediately on meeting him. Caddick. Caddick, yeah. Poor Caddick. It does not go well for Caddick.
It kills him so hard.
Yeah, so Valence, the opposite happened. So after they work with Boba Fett and help him take out like half of I should know this. I did an entire arc about working with him in the Edge of the Empire campaign. Black Sun.
Yeah.
He takes out like half of Black Sun because like it turns out like he was hired by the other half of Black Sun to take out this group
Yep.
because they're like a splinter group that were trying to like take over Black Sun, and he's like, nah, your brother hired me to kill you.
Yep.
and it was because they had put a bounty on Boba Fett because they believed that Jabba hired him to go after them, but he was like, nope, I'm not working for the Hutts, I'm working for your brother. Pew, pew, pew.
Your brother hired me.
And so, yeah, so
And he's like, anyhow, yeah, here's this place.
you can
You
go.
might go and fix your cyborg friend.
And we learned that the reason he knows about this place is because it's somewhere that Django went years ago and took this guy before the Clone Wars. It was during like that in between Episode 1 and 2 era. And so because it's when he's being cloned by Kaminoans, but not when he's like fighting with anybody yet. But he takes this scientist who's into cybernetics and stuff who's dying to this place because he is related. Basically, his family long ago helped the droids that are part of Ajax's religion set up a safe haven there. And so his family helped them out when they fought the Jedi, because years ago, like millennia ago, Ajax and his droids had a droid revolution that got defeated by Jedi. And then we know what happened to Ajax's memory, because that memory core, we know what happened with that, because that's Han Solo and Chewbacca comic. Watch our Han Solo and Chewbacca review for that.
Yep.
Or read the comic. I personally like the comics, so read the comics, I think, but because I think Mark Guggenheim is really good. I like his writing. I like everybody's writing, honestly, in the comics. I like Charles Soule, I like Alyssa Wong, I like Ethan Sachs, I like Greg Pak. I like them all. Although I will, okay. So let's kind of go meta talk about this comic. I had reservations about this comic going in.
All right.
Because we're at a point where we should honestly be done with this era of Star Wars in the comics. And we've talked about this before. We're at a point where we have had now 1, 2, 3. We have now officially with Dark Droids had 4 crossover events. Just in the event of what happens between episode 5 and 6. Just between episode 5 and 6.
Yep.
Which is a year long. by the way.
Mhm.
This is all within a year.
Yep.
Whereas the previous one, the 2015 run, was between episodes 4 and 5. It only had arguably 2 crossover events. There was a Vader Down crossover between the Star Wars and Darth Vader run. Eventually, Dr. Aphra got a comic. Darth Vader run had ended by then. And then Star Wars and Dr. Aphra had a crossover. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird that a 3-year thing feels like that less happened than in a 1 year. So a lot of comic book Star Wars fans are kind of like, we're done. We kind of want to move on. And honestly, Dark Droids might be the weakest of the story arcs, is what a lot of people were saying. So my reservations, I had severe reservations about this going in. I was like, I'm not sure about this one. I haven't heard anything really positive about this one. Whereas like War of the Bounty Hunters and Crimson Reign and Hidden Empire, arguably a movie trilogy on its own, like worthy of that, right?
Mm.
Dark Droids is fine. I don't know how you feel. I feel Dark Droids is fine. I don't think it... I do agree that it does not hold up to the previous 3 crossovers. I do agree that this is probably the weakest of the crossovers for this run.
I don't remember what happens in Hidden Empire.
That's the finale of it all. That's the... When we discover, like, the Knights of Ren stuff going on, as well as the... That's basically Kira going through with her plan to...
Okay.
Yeah. Where, with the Maxine Station stuff, and...
Okay.
You may not remember the specifics, I don't remember every little detail, but I know that that's what the arc was about.
Okay, so that was the enactment of the plan.
Yeah, Crimson Reign was a lot of the setup, and...
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know... I feel like this was... I do kind of think this is the weakest of the arcs, of the crossovers. But I don't think it's bad. And honestly, I kind of wish this was, like... I kind of wish all the comics did what Bounty Hunters did, and that they all just ended one comic after. Like, I feel like all... But mainline Star Wars definitely has a couple more story arcs they wanted to tell. Because we still don't know a lot about the Sith thing, the red lightsaber crystal that Luke has, as well as how he gets his green lightsaber. We still haven't gotten completely to that. Well, we know how he gets his green lightsaber, but there's still more of a journey there.
Yeah.
So there's obviously more there. And also now we have the Trial of Lando coming up, which we got preview.
Okay.
We got the preview from with Revelations. Because that's how this arc ends. Is they're like,
I forgot.
that's how this arc ends. Is they're gonna put him on trial.
Yep.
Because Lando finally tells them everything. He's like, hey, so yeah, I gave the talkie to Jabba, and which also would have been very dangerous for the rebellion because the talkie came up with all the new codes that we use. So, for all we know, Jabba sold us out on those as well. Which, it seems like that was not on Jabba's priorities,
Yeah.
weirdly enough. He just used him as a protocol translator droid, which was honestly dumb of Jabba.
It's like, I just needed a new translator droid. I don't know what to tell you.
Even though that droid is worth more than being as a translator droid.
It's like, I could do so much more. And he's like, I need you to tell me what they're saying.
And in fact, he's not a good translator droid because he's like, there's a lot of new, language evolves over time. So
Yeah.
he's like, there's a lot of new slang and lingo that I can't translate correctly.
Yep.
And because of that, he mistranslates something that costs Jabba some business, so Jabba sends him to the torture droid.
Semantic shift is a bitch. For those of you who don't know what that is when a word loses its original meaning and becomes something else.
Yeah.
That's what that is called.
So that's kind of what happened. Is he's like, I don't know what this means.
Yep.
So it becomes Lando's job to kind of free him. thankfully Jabba's out of the palace at
Yeah,
this time.
he's
He's like on a barge trip.
partying.
Yeah, he's on his
Monthly like party.
yeah, he's on the party bus.
Yep. He goes out like
Apparently he does this often, like at
Yeah.
least once a month. He's like,
he's
I
like,
just want to
"I'm
get
just
out.
Gonna go out.
You know
for,
what?
like-
Good on Jabba though. You know, I feel like that's really healthy. That's really healthy to get out of the palace once in a
Every
while.
once in a while.
So you know what? Good on him. Good on him. I respect that. So he deserves to take his slug self out of that because he can't be sitting around all day, all the time. Like he's got to get out there. Although we learned in Book of Boba Fett, like even the other times when he gets out, he's still being like carried around on a pedestal, and so it's just like still not entirely healthy, but healthier.
Yep.
Um,
God. What else?
We also have the D Squad story arc.
Yeah.
Which is a throwback to the Clone Wars story arc with the D Squad. They even bring back Whack. Whack is back for an issue. I love seeing Whack.
Also, R2 threatening everyone. He's like, I like how.
So the
Scourge-
reason this happens is because C-3PO is the first droid in the rebellion that gets
inflicted
scourged.
with the Scourge, and Scourge notices that R2 figures out something's up immediately.
He's like, R2's too smart.
and shoves him into space.
He's like, I need to kill this guy.
Like now.
I love that R2 is such a threat. I love him and Chopper. This is not the first time they've met, because they do meet in Rebels once. But I do like them meeting again and being like all threatened by each other, and Wax like, hey guys, we got bigger problems. Poor Whack, just caught in the middle.
It just seems that R2 argues with like every droid he meets.
I love that that the D, because that's Mark Guggenheim writing the D Squad arc, so the D Squad miniseries. So I like that he basically has canonized the idea. Like I feel like the comics more and more canonize the idea that no, like R2D2 is just a potty mouth.
Yeah.
Like, because that's like a fan thing for a long time, as we joke that, oh, that's why he's beeped out all the time, is because he's just saying shit, fuck, ass all the time. And no, that's legitimately what's going on. Like, he really is, because, like, he tells, I think he tells Whack to sit his ass down, essentially, and Whack is like, I don't have that particular body part.
It's like, you know what I meant, motherfucker. I don't have time for this.
Because we don't know what R2 actually says,
Yep.
but, like, we get Whack's response, which is like, I don't have that particular...
Like, take me here to this planet now.
So I like to imagine that Mark Guggenheim is confirming everybody's belief that R2 is just a potty mouth
Yeah.
motherfucker. Obviously, I don't think he would ever admit to that in an interview, even
Yeah.
if we managed to pull him into one, because I think Disney would shut that down.
Yeah.
Like, I think Disney and Marvel would be like, you can't confirm that. You cannot confirm that. Mark Guggenheim, though, if you want to do an interview, we can talk about the D Squad, and we can talk about Han Solo and Chewbacca, because I want more. We need to talk about you getting more of that going. Although he's writing that other one that we talked about, because didn't he write that Revelations one shot that's about that guy that works for Jabba?
I'm not sure.
The one that's going to be like part of a heist crew?
I don't know, man.
The one that you said you were the most excited for.
That doesn't help, man.
I thought you remember at least that comic. Do you remember that comic at least?
No.
It was the guy that bumbled his way to success.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Now I remember.
Yeah.
Mister, I just kind of have dumb lucked my way.
Into Jabba's good graces.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, it's that guy. I think Mark Guggenheim wrote that one. I'm gonna double check myself though. I don't wanna give credit falsely. I want to make sure it's going to the right person. Because that wouldn't be fair to do. I don't think. Oh yeah, it was 2023. Because we had a 2022 issue of Revelations, then we had a 2023 one, which was 2022 was a preview for 2023 comics, and then 2023 was a preview to 2024 comics. checking. Yeah, it was the Duel of the Reprobates. No. Yeah, it was Mark Guggenheim.
All right.
So, okay. I see what you're doing, Mark. This is how I continue telling. This is how you're going to continue the story with Han Solo's not dad.
Mm.
The I forget his name now. The actual name for the guy.
Yep.
But yeah. Because that's the story I want to see. I want to see more of what's up with that guy. Because he had another plan going. He was like, okay, I got another thing going, and then that was it, unfortunately, because the Han Solo comic got cut.
Yep.
Same thing with kind of what happened with the Bounty Hunters comic. Thankfully, though, in both cases, they end in a way that, okay, it finishes it finishes everything nicely, but just leaves enough room for more if the author is given a chance to do more. So yeah, D Squad arc, R2 teams up with BT and 000 and IG-88 and 4LOM, who got kicked off of the space station where they bring Valence because why is my brain forgetting names all of a sudden?
Zuckuss.
Yeah, Zuckuss saves them by like sending him out the air, down the out of a escape pod because they get surrounded by a bunch of Scourge droids that are, and he's like, oh well, they want you for LOM, so here, there's only enough time for one of us to escape on the escape pod, so you go in the escape pod and I'll hold them off and die as a hero for you. And then the Scourge droids are like, we're not interested in you, bye.
Goodbye. He's like, that's cool.
I guess I should go warn everybody else.
Yeah.
Because basically, as soon as they get on that space station, they're like, this is a trap.
Yeah, they're like, something's weird here.
Because they meet, like, this droid who, like, welcomes them in and was like, we learned that they were, like, waiting for Ajax to return. Because, like, after Ajax died, they knew he would come back again. And so they're like, we're going to wait till he returns and he's going to come see us and then we're going to continue his teachings. Which Ajax did return, but he did not tell them.
Nope.
But that's also because the human that Boba Fett brought kind of set them up. Because he kind of got a little too big for his britches. Because he's like, I'm going to be the perfect hybrid.
Yep.
And he kind of wants to be a droid himself in a way. And his whole thing is that he thinks he's worthy of being part of Ajax's teachings. And that he's going to essentially continue the revolution that Ajax started. That's kind of his dream. And the leader of the droids that are there is like, no, you are still a human. This is our cause, not yours. Except a lot more meaner.
Yeah.
And so the cyborg ends up betraying them through a couple ways. First, he tries to have them join the Separatists during the Clone Wars and actually gives away their location to General Grievous. And so they try to have a meeting with Grievous, but the droids are not having it. They're like, no, we're good. We don't need this. And then they get into a fight with Grievous where they kick his ass.
Yeah.
It's
a case of there are so many of you.
Like, Grievous was cutting a lot of them down, but there's just so many that he was outnumbered.
That's really the strength of the droids in this.
Is the numbers.
The Scourge. It's like...
Even before the Scourge, even Ajax's people.
Yeah, it's like, we're a lot.
But we have a united front, too. That's the other thing. Well, at least that's Ajax's cause. Ajax's cause is there's a united front.
Yep.
Scourge is a hive mind, so it's not really a united front. It's more of a, you're just going to believe it is.
Yep.
And so that's kind of Scourge's thing. Although Scourge also has a weakness of there's too many.
Yep.
We learned that he has a problem of there's too many minds at once, and he can't really focus.
He has to flip between them.
Yeah. It's kind of like how we did B9 for our KOTOR campaign. B9 could be in any droid that he was connected to, but he could not actively be watching all at the same time. He had to switch.
He has to pick.
Yeah. He has to pick a droid. to be in.
While in theory, he's everywhere at all at once. In practice, it's a little harder to do.
Which also made things interesting when he has like the Council of Scourge,
Yeah.
which I said I sent this both to you and Hayden, our friend. That's the one I was telling you about that told me to.
Yeah.
She's really big into bounty hunters, so shout out to you, Hayden. You're awesome. I love our Twitter talks. I told both of you that I was like, that scene where we have the Council of Scourge is just Spy Kids 3D Game Over of Stallone talking to himself. Although in your case I showed a GIF, but since it was like Twitter DMs, I just was like explained it to her. I was like, it's that scene. And I feel like everybody kind of agrees that yeah, it's just that. You even got Old Man Scourge, you got Kid Scourge, you got although Kid Scourge seems to be wiser than the rest of them, because Kid Scourge is like, hey, we should probably back off a bit. It's not working the way we thought. And everybody else is like, shut up.
There's the soldier, the scholar, the elder, and the child.
And then Scourge. Scourge Prime, I guess we could say. Because there's like the Prime one, which is the one that's most connected to the Spark as well. Because the elder is like talking about, when we did this years ago, I didn't have the Spark, and so it's kind of like a council of them, but but it's also just him talking to himself, because it's just
he was like, I need to offload this mental pressure, so I'm just gonna make 4 people and give them like the pieces of me that I'm like, I need someone to focus on these.
So once again, it's Spy Kids 3D Game Over. That's exactly why Stallone's doing it, because he's by himself in a world that he created, and he's like, I created you and you and you to represent parts of me, so that way I can have people to talk to and understand what's going on. And it's like, oh, okay, so you're just crazy. So you're just crazy.
Just having like,
you're having a mental breakdown in front of us.
It's crazy how like the elders like gives him a gun and is like, here you go. If you think this is a bad idea, you should go ahead and end it right now.
So, I will say another thing I was not expecting about this arc, and it's something you were like, why didn't you warn me about? Because I didn't read this arc.
Yeah.
Is the body horror.
There's a lot of body horror, and the first...
well, even before the arms thing, one of the first things is just the way, like, they take over people, and, like, the first proper issue of the Dark Droids arc, which is when he's killing all those Imperials on the ship. It's a massacre, and like they don't like it holds back a bit because it's still like PG-13ish, but it's a hard PG-13.
Yeah.
Like, oh. And so like as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, so this is a horror film.
I was like, at that point it hadn't quite hit me. I was like, oh, okay, this is just some like Resident Evil type nonsense. This is where we went and we fucked up and now our thing is getting wrecked.
But it goes...
That, for some reason...
It didn't click yet.
That didn't click. And the first droid that I saw with, like, a human arm on there just at random, that didn't do anything until, like, I looked at the next panel over and I was like, the R2 unit with the 2 arms. I'm like, oh, shit!
Yeah, because we learned that Scourge...
Like, my brain blocked out the first one, and then it's like, here's a panel of all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Because we learned that Scourge is essentially just experimenting.
Yeah.
He basically...
he doesn't know.
He's, like, trying to figure out the puzzle pieces. So he's literally pulling some... Oh, what's his name? I'm not... But, yeah.
Mangala?
Yeah, Mangala type stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know.
It's very... World War II German scientists.
Yep.
That's the, I think, YouTube safe way of saying what's going on. So he captures people alive. Like, he leaves specific amount of prisoners alive just so he can experiment on them from each of his, like, attacks. Because he'll kill just about everybody else, though. But then he'll leave, like, just enough alive to, like, experiment on them.
Like, out of, say, like, 100 people, he might keep 5 alive.
Maybe 10. Because depending on how desperate he is.
Scale.
Yeah, depending on the scale. I'd say 100, he probably leaves 10. Because there's like one case, like the first ship, Scourge 1, he keeps like 100 of them alive. But also, that's an Imperial Star Destroyer with thousands of people on it. They even give us the numbers. They're like, oh yeah.
It's like 10,000 people.
Yeah. Which fits what we know about Star Destroyers and their size. Because it's not a... I don't think it's a Super Star Destroyer, that one. I think it was just a Star Destroyer. And then they actually do take a Super Star Destroyer, though, because they take Vader's.
Yep.
They take the Executioner.
Important note.
Or Executor, or
Vader
whatever,
stuff.
yeah.
He's still kind of, like at the start of this, he's still recovering from being point blank
From the Force
to the
Wave.
Fermata
Yeah.
Age's, like, release.
Yeah, it's still
'Cause
dealing
that
with...
fucked everything up.
Well, he's still dealing with the Force Wave because all Force users are still... Well, except for Luke. Luke's kind of chilled from it.
Yeah.
Luke's...
Luke's like...
Although we don't see a lot of Luke using the Force in this arc. But he's...
He does a cool flip at the end. I
Yeah.
think that's about it.
That's about it. Luke's kind of not too concerned. But Vader, Sly Moore, and the Emperor all still are like...
Yeah.
The Emperor less so also. Emperor's kind of like...
The Emperor's like, this doesn't bother me because I'm the best.
Also, it's funny watching everybody else fuck up.
Yeah.
Masamita fails at assassinating Vader in the process. Because once more, Vader's involved because the Scourge once again wants Vader. Because multiple reasons. Because
It tries getting him like 3 times and it fails until Vader's like, alright,
take me.
yep.
But then it's because in the suit, he set up like a system to keep it contained to just in the suit.
Yep.
So it's just him and Scourge, 1v1.
They're just having an argument.
And basically Vader's like, also I'm going to turn your technology against you so that I can control your robots. Which is essentially the solution that happens at the end anyways for a lot of the... Like, because that's what Afra does as well. Afra, like, uses the nanobots, the spider bots that are taking... Because in order to pass the Scourge along, they use spider bots that they then implant to the back of the neck and are just like, you are now one of us.
Yep.
You are now part of the Borg. Welcome to the Borg.
Yep.
It is very much a Borg story arc from Star Trek. That is a comparison I've heard. And it's essentially the Borg.
For me, I'm like, this story makes more sense if you just operate it like a zombie robot horror story.
Yeah.
Just set in Star Wars.
Which, I mean, we've got zombies in Star Wars. We got horror as a genre in Star Wars is something that like exists. Yeah. There's two Legends books that are just straight up zombies in Star Wars. One is a Sith zombies one, and one is just a Stormtrooper zombies one. I like the Sith zombies one a little bit more, but that's also because I like seeing Sith academies when they're at their full like function. But in the case of this one, it's kind of, what if that went wrong? Because it's the birthplace of that zombie virus. It's the same zombie virus in the other one, though. And then, of course, the Rackles are technically zombies, depending on how you want to credit that.
Don't worry about it.
Rackle virus and KOTOR, potentially a zombie virus. It depends who you ask.
Yep.
It's a form of a zombie virus. This is more of a Sawyer question than a me question when it comes to, like, is that a zombie? More zombies than anything else. There are vampires, though, also, because that's the crossover event for Dr. Aphra and Star Wars from the 2015 run. Is a vampire one. And, of course, we got the tales of the Death Star, tales from Vader's castle. Those are horror stories. Those are more like a, what's that TV show? Tales by the Camp, like... The
ghost stories.
Yeah, it's like a ghost story thing. I was trying to think of the TV show where anyways.
I want to say the Midnight Club, but that's
no, but that's like that premise of where they tell stories around the campfire.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, it's essentially Are You Afraid of the Dark? I was trying to think of the name of the society in it because it's the whatever.
The Midnight Society.
The Midnight Society, yeah.
I was like, Midnight Club.
It's pretty much like being members of the Midnight Society and getting told a bunch of creepy stories that are likely not canon, but the stories are canon in the sense of these are stories you would tell people.
Yep.
And the Dringer are also a horror story. So it makes sense. This is not new to Star Wars.
No.
What else do we need to really talk about before we get to the ending of Bounty Hunters? Oh yeah, Ajax teams up with the D Squad
Yep.
because Ajax already attempted to attack Scourge 1.
It went bad.
He was the only survivor.
Yep.
He had like 100 followers, and he brought them all to like their doom essentially. And of course, Ajax felt really, really guilty about that.
Yep.
But he's also glad that none of them actually got taken by the Scourge. They actually just died, or so he was like, because that'd be the worst case scenario. Is because then he knows where we're hiding, because Scourge takes your information.
And D Squad pulls up and is like, "Hey, we don't need you in your capacities as a priest."
Oh yeah, because they find Ajax. Because who is it with the information for where he went?
I think it's
Was it 4LOM that knew?
it's either 4LOM or
IG?
no,
Or
It's the
000.
it's the other astromech, the pink one,
Oh yeah, Katie.
Katie. Yep.
Yeah, from Clone Wars. Who I love the whole like romance thing between them. It's kind of funny. It's cute. It's and I like how like they R2 is very much like Anakin of like, I'm gonna flirt while we're in the middle of battle.
Everyone else is, stop flirting with your fucking girlfriend. We're in the fight of our lives here.
Very Anakin and Padme. So yeah, I liked having KT come back. I liked having seeing Whack again. I like seeing Chopper. Chopper's on a mission at the time, so we don't really get to learn much about that. It's top secret. So, which makes sense because he'd still be working with because Hera's, at this point higher up on she's like a general at this point.
Chopper and R2, fuck you.
Because I think we've seen General Syndulla in the comics already. So yeah, so she's a general at this point. So yeah, it makes sense that she'd probably send Chopper to do some reconnaissance.
But yeah, they show up to Ajax and they're like, and he's like trying to give a sermon.
Yeah, he's like
he's
like trying to get them into his beliefs because he's got the 3 revelations. The first one is
First is I, the
second is
us,
then them. And then he gets a 4th one by the end of the comic run.
However, like IG-88 and 4, like he's telling this sermon to the people who don't care.
Especially 000. 000 is like, I'm just here to kill.
Yep.
And IG-88's like, and I'm here to just arrest 000.
Yep.
But yeah, they essentially all team up and they do another assault. While all this is happening, Lando has managed to get the talkie, but Lobot was captured. Afra has made apologies to Sana and is like, I need your help, not for me, but for Magna, because Magna doesn't deserve what's going to happen to her. This isn't a us thing. This is we care about Magna.
Yeah, and initially, Afra's like, hey, I need Lucky to look after Magna, and Lucky finally has had enough. And he's like,
no, I need to go get my brother and my husband.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, fine, we're gonna take you back.
And Afra has a moment of like, what?
Because Lucky never really like stood up this love. Like Lucky has jabbed at her and made like insults back, and it's kind of like a tit for tat sort of thing. But it's never a full on standing up for himself.
Yeah, and he's like, no, fuck this, I'm done.
So it's kind of nice seeing that of him just putting his foot down and going, no.
Like, I've helped you so much that at this point
you owe me.
Yeah.
Like they joke about owing each other, but he's like, no, legitimately, you owe me.
Yeah. Important thing also. So after Boba gets home from helping the bounty hunters the first time, and as Lando is rescuing the droid, Boba is in Jabba's palace and he says, fuck this, I'm leaving. And Lando's like, oh, fuck, it must be real bad then if Boba Fett's just saying, I'm gonna leave now,
Yeah, if Boba's done.
then I should hurry the fuck up.
Yeah. Which also, during R2's, like, undercover thing of figuring out what's going on, he also ends up at Jabba's palace at the same time. And so Lando doesn't recognize him, though, because they both disguise themselves.
Yeah, and they're like,
But I think R2 recognized, he's like, oh, this is Lando, because he's got Lobot with him.
yeah.
But Lando does not recognize R2. He's like,
It's
you
like-
look familiar, but I don't know who. I've probably seen you before, but I gotta go.
I gotta go. It's very much like, I don't know, I'll see you at the meeting on Thursday, I guess.
Yeah. But R2, and he also can't understand R2 because he doesn't know astromech.
Like, I don't
He doesn't know
speak
basic.
binary.
Yeah, binary. Sorry. Yeah, basic is English. Binary is robot. Sorry. But yeah, he doesn't speak binary. So R2 and Katie continue their thing. Anyways, yeah. So jumping back ahead, it's looking fucked
Yeah,
'Cause-
things are going sideways for everybody.
because Afra and Santa do manage to get Magna back, but not as Magna.
Yeah.
And so they end up, I forget what their plan is specifically to save Magna, but I think it's to go, they don't even get a chance to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh shit, we got to immediately save Domina.
Yeah.
And so they got it because they find out that, they realize that Scourge is after Domina as well. So they're like, fuck, we don't have time.
Because it's like, there's one of the, like, 3 smartest people in the galaxy. Oh, fuck, she's got cybernetics.
Well, also, and she's got so much knowledge about technology and stuff that Scourge is thinking, oh, I'll probably unlock the answers I need just from taking over you.
Yeah.
The problem is, the cybernetics are so few that it's going to be as difficult as if it was trying to jump into a regular human. Because Domina's like, yeah, I might die in the process of you doing this, and I have some safety precautions that
like,
if I die,
"I've rigged
my
it.
research dies.
I've rigged myself to explode.
Well, also, all of her research deletes itself if she dies.
Yeah.
So,
And
like,
Scourge
every
is-
computer with her research,
The Scourge is like, you're bluffing. And she's like, you
Maybe.
don't have any guarantee of that.
she's like, maybe I'm bluffing, but maybe I'm not. There's
She's
no way
like,
to know.
Go ahead. Call that coin flip.
Scourge is like, okay. I'm already, Scourge is like, I'm already, like, having so many coin flips right now. One more won't hurt.
One more's not gonna make a difference. You have no idea.
Scourge is like, I'm flipping 50 coins right now.
You have no idea, Lee.
Thankfully, Afra arrives just in time.
Oh god.
And they've also created some, like, she stole some EMPs that were part of the TAG Corporation, and she, like, rigged them herself to kind of work in their favor. Problem is, it will shut down blasters as well as her own cybernetics. So,
So they have to use them sparingly.
thankfully, she uses them in the most important moment, which is stopping Domina from being tested on.
Like, I think she and Sana, like, see her get
Like-
possessed, for lack of a better term, and go, nope. Just point blank her.
Yeah. And so, thankfully, it was, like, before the possession could fully... Because, unfortunately, that is not the case with Magna. Magna
Nah.
still has it. And also, on top of that, R2 and the others also found a solution, which is just zap you with a pod racer.
They're like electrocution.
Electric, because that's what, because BT was also...
Yeah.
And they just drove a pod racer into BT, and they had him electrify, like we see Jar Jar in episode 1.
They're like, well, that's a solution. It's not feasible for all of us.
I don't know, it actually is, though, because if Jar Jar can get blasted and live, I think everybody can.
No, it's not like that what I mean is there's a lot, so it's not exactly efficient.
Yeah, there's a lot
It
of
is
people.
a solution, but it's not an efficient
It's
one.
definitely a solution for people that you care about specifically, and not for the whole.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, if I just need one person.
Yeah, just throw them between the power couplings of a pod racer. You should
Maybe that's how they should have saved Valence. Actually, no, yeah, he would have been fine. He would have been fine.
just boot him in the chest into the fucking power couple.
I imagine it's kind of like when somebody does like when they use like the
shock pads.
the shock pads.
Defibrillator.
Defibrillator. There we go.
Yeah.
Clear.
You just gotta power cycle your valence. Gets that scourge right out.
Gets him right on out of there. But yeah, so
Meanwhile, the Scourge's plan, Epiconia, is a big like.
oh yeah, he
communication
finds
center.
he finds like a communication center as the planet to kind of make final base of operation, because he's basically like, I'm gonna go ahead and set up my programming, and I would have just done it over the radio, over like interstellar hyperspace news, interwaves, whatever, right? But that's not efficient, really, because there's no way to like guarantee it would hit every droid. So he's like, we're just gonna put them on data disk and just pass them out.
Yep. He's like, while the nano spiders are doing a pretty good job,
It's taking too long.
it's taking too long.
So we're just gonna go the official means.
Yep.
And claim this is an official droid update.
Yep.
And he is also having to rush his plan at this point.
Yeah,
because
everyone's kind of figured out.
everybody's caught on. The rebels have caught on. The Empire's caught on and is just killing droids on
Yeah.
sight.
They're like, we're not taking any chances.
I think the most brutal one was the guy that straight up was just executing one, even though it was an innocent droid, and he had like the saw
This
coming.
fucking like power
Jesus.
saw.
And he's like got him held down as if this is like a like a old school like.
You fucking executioner.
God, that was fucked.
Yeah.
You can kind of see why droids are fighting for their rights when this is how they're being treated
Oh, man.
sometimes, like, because they don't do this to
The
humans.
crazy line of it is, that guy says is, don't worry, everyone step back. I don't want anyone to get hurt. And I'm like, bro, I get why you would do this. This seems a bit extreme, though.
Shooting them
Like,
was working
just-
fine.
Just shoot him. You don't have to use a fucking power saw, man.
Also, because then you can bring them back once everything's solved.
Yeah. Or like, you could have just taken out the backup battery as well. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
why-
because that's an important thing. Because that's also why the Domino's old droids were coming back to life, is because they had the backup.
The good news is it only lasts for like a
And-
minute.
Like it's like not even an hour. It's like a minute to 5 minutes tops.
So I'm like, why didn't you just like turn them off or like take their
Yeah.
battery out? I don't know why.
Hold on. But yeah, so like it's it was kind of a
But they forgot to take out the Duracells.
yeah. But yeah,
like-
let's go.
Like for me, that was pretty brutal for like you, in terms of like, okay, that might be a bit unnecessary. For some reason, I'm like, oh, shooting droids in the street. I'm like, ow, okay.
Which yeah, even that's a bit much, but like at the time it's like okay, I can kind of understand just a quick shot. It's almost like, the idea is hopefully that it's quick in that
Yeah.
regard at least, and also you can repair them. Like it's not a case of this is this isn't a permanent end to that
Yeah.
droid, whereas cutting a droid down like that a little bit more permanent.
It honestly, it reminds me of like when IG-88 is brought back in The Mandalorian from like that statue, and he's just
Oh, IG not 88.
88, 11.
11, yeah.
Yeah, I'm remembering how many blaster shots it took.
Yeah. But yeah, and so
But essentially, Scourge's plan is to become a software update.
well, and not even that, he also wants the Force now because he's kind of learned about it through Luke, because at C-3PO he asked him some questions. And Luke got suspicious. He was like, "Why are you worried about this so much now?"
That's an odd question.
And so that's when why 3PO was like, okay, well Scourge's 3PO was like, okay, time to just attack the rebels. We got to just move forward. Scourge tends to I noticed that his weakness is trying to move too fast. Like, the moment he's trying to operate too quickly is when he gets his ass busted. Every time.
And also Luke being like, I mean, it's not impossible.
Oh, yeah, because he asked about droids using the Force.
And Luke's like, it could happen.
It could happen. And so then, so that's also why he wants Vader. Because Vader's kind of that perfect combination of man, machine, and the Force.
Yep.
And so, Vader then uses his powers of teaming up with Scourge to outright assault the Palpatine's Capitol building and try to kill Palpatine.
Yep.
Because by this point, he's kind of learned to use his hate as the main fuel to kill, to control the Force again. And so, meanwhile, Sly kind of still hasn't figured it out. And also, this was when Masamita's like, oh, I could have killed Vader. And Palpatine's like, so how'd that go?
Like, and Amita's like, it didn't work. And he's like, yeah, of course it didn't fucking work.
You dumbass.
There's so many times, like, throughout the comics that I've read where someone's like, I'm gonna kill Vader. And I'm like, good luck.
So as we're wrapping up, I guess. So, a couple solutions are found.
Yes.
So, as far as Valence's solution, Hayden provides the memories of Valence.
She made a backup.
She made a backup, and it has everything up until them meeting.
Yeah.
So, also during this time, Valence is now also on Epiconia, and so Tonga's like, oh, we gotta go get him, because I made a promise that I would at least kill the man if we couldn't bring him back.
Meanwhile,
Kel,
Dirge,
Dirge,
and Deathstick.
Deathstick, which at this point, Caddock is dead, because Valence, after he turned, went... grabbed Caddock and went...
Caddock got the Dragon Ball treatment, except just for his head.
Yeah. His head went pop.
Yep.
Like a Gushers commercial. So yeah, Kel's not happy about that. I think that's really what made Kel decide to flip.
And Bosk is also like, fuck this. He's not
This is too much effort for Valence. So Bosk is the main betrayer because he gives Kel the information that they need in order to access the bank account that Tonga's paying them with. Because Tonga's like, here, I'll give you the bank account. You just won't have the login, so you still need me alive and working with me to use it. Because you see Deathstick in the background ready to stab her. And she's like, you still need the numbers. And then they betray her, and Bosk is... so her and Zuckuss are the only loyal ones. So Zuckuss gets tossed out the ship, too. And they get handed to the... basically fend for themselves against the Scourge droids. And Bosk is like, oh yeah, I got the numbers because I've seen you put it in so many times.
Bosk knows her PIN number.
So he's like, it's da 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 da, and she's like, fuck.
Yep.
And so Kel's like, yeah, like, you sent us on a suicide mission. What'd you expect? We're bounty hunters. This isn't a bounty anymore.
This is unnecessary.
So they dip.
A surprising team up does happen.
Yeah. Turns out, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, fucking Losha doesn't know where
her wife
Tonga
is.
has run off to.
Yeah, Losha's busy hanging out at the bounty hunter cantina as like security.
And she's like
also as a fighter, like she's doing the like X-Men 1 Wolverine thing where she's fighting in the cages,
fighting the pit.
Yeah, but also as a bodyguard.
And eventually she goes...
She got a lot of muscle mass, by the way, in between arcs. She's like a big-ass buff lady now.
You know what happened? Vakura's muscle mass got transferred to...
Yeah, because Vakura comes back, and she's like a skinny little thing comparatively. Yeah. I think it's a new artist thing, because I think they switched artists between arcs. But I actually like the new designs, so it's not a bad thing. It's just I didn't recognize you for a second. I kind of got it to piece together, though, because like pretty quickly, because Vakura was like talking about how she's trying to do better and how she's got all these Tuca cats now.
Yep.
And she even named one after the next Sue that she killed.
which is a little fucked up.
It's a little fucked up, but I think it's her
Like, it's
attempt
meant
at
to be
redemption.
sweet.
And it's kind of working on me. I gave Vooker a lot of shit, but in the past for killing that Nexu, but I think she's slowly coming around for me. Slowly.
You know, now that she's retired from the crime gang, she's like, oh, I can be a lot calmer, and I can have pet cats now.
I can be a cat lady.
Yeah,
I can be a cat lady bounty hunter. Let's go.
yeah. Also, it turns out fucking blue milk is expensive, I guess.
Also, she gets decked in the face immediately upon, because so the bar is also like the bounty hunters guild.
Yeah.
So like, Vooker is like, I gotta join the bounty hunters guild officially, and so the guy in charge of the place is like, hey, Losha, somebody's gonna be coming by, so bring him in. And Losha obviously immediately sees who it is and just goes, bah! But then they have to deal with the Scourge.
Yeah. Because the Scourge is this is everyone's problem.
And so they end up dealing with that, and then they're like, oh shit, Valence.
Oh, fuck.
So they end up on
Epiconia.
Epiconia also.
So almost everyone
Yeah,
because
Lando, Luke, Leia, and Chewie also end up there to save Lobot. And this is before Lando's admitted everything. This is when he's just like, hey, Lobot needs help, and I've helped you a lot. Lobot has helped you a lot. So the Alliance owes him. Also, he has a lot of Imperial intel that could be handy.
Yep.
So
And
so Leia's like, yep.
she's like, oh, we'll help you because he's our friend, but you're a piece of shit
Yeah.
for all of the stuff you've done.
Yeah. And so they help so they get there, huge battle ensues. Meanwhile, Ajax and the D Squad are teaming up to go face on the Scourge one again. Vader, we don't really know what happens with him. He's fine, I guess.
Yeah, he's fine.
He kind of takes over the droid thing. He's fine. Also, we find out there's like an Imperial Schism thing going on with Slymore, which we kind of knew Slymore was up to something shifty, and Slymore can't make it through the original trilogy because we know that they don't appear after the original trilogy. So whatever the next story arc for the Vader comics, we know that something's going to go on there.
Slymore, I need to plot harder.
I feel like I should also recognize the other two generals that are involved with Slymore's thing, but I can't remember who the fuck they are. I feel like I should especially know the armored one, because there's that panel of them, and I'm like, I feel like for sure I should know who the armored one is, but... Is that the armored one that... Oh... Was it Vader and... When he was teaming up with the Amidalans, and that was somebody they fought? I feel like that's right. I can't remember.
Maybe.
It looks familiar to me.
Point is, the Empire is having another internal conflict because, God forbid, they can't go a single day without one.
Well, we learned that the Empire just doesn't work efficiently because it's... I mean, with Andor, we learned that there's so much red tape that the hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing, and it's definitely... Like, they're doing two different things, and it's definitely a situation of... Because everything is separated like this, nobody knows what's going on.
Meanwhile...
And in fact, Palpatine ends up getting the blame for this as an issue, which, yeah, it is. He does that on purpose. Because he does want everybody to be competing against each other.
Yep.
That's kind of his thing. But that's kind of also why people are kind of okay with the Imperial remnants kind of existing for a while. For the people who know about them. Because they're like, oh, Palpatine's gone, so maybe now we can give this Empire thing another shot and it'll be better. But... But yeah, so... Anyways, wrapping this up so we can kind of get to the meat of this, and kind of, because we're already hour and a half.
All right.
Essentially, when Ajax stabs him, that's it. Although for a split second, Scourge gets what he wants because he does he does figure out how to get into the meat, as he says.
He's like, I did. Oh, fuck.
And he gets into Luke, Leia, Lando, Chewie, he's inside everybody. And with Luke, he's like, oh my god, so much power. And he's like, it's basically Highlander where he's like, I know everything now. I have the solution. I know.
Stab.
Yeah, stab. Meanwhile, back on Scourge 1. Because he's like, I am now going to be the Force and be able to get into not even just living things, but non-living things, because the Force is in the rocks and the trees. And then Ajax is like, nope.
Yeah. Ajax is like, I've already tried this fucking bullshit.
He's like, you are not doing this.
Yep.
He does save Scourge, though, because
Mm-hmm.
he puts him to a droid. But it's kind of like a soft reboot of Scourge, so it's like Scourge doesn't remember who he is and what
It's
he
like,
is.
I fucked you up. So that you can start at morality level 0.
Start
it's-
anew.
Yeah. Instead of whatever the fuck this horror show was.
Although it seems Ajax is still on his let's deal with the non-droids bullshit. Just, he hasn't got the army to back it up yet.
Yep.
Because he was like, at first, because like when we start the Dark Droids arc, he's like, I'm done with that version of me. I'm going to try to be a pacifist now. And I'm going to try to teach everybody to kind of go that route and try to deal with humans and living organisms and peacefully. And try to just set up our own society and hope they'll respect that. But now he's kind of back on his bullshit of maybe that's not going to work.
He's like, I tried pacifism for like 600 years. It did not work.
It's not even that long. He's only recently came back. But yeah, and so that resolves everything. Also, Valence gets his before that happens. Valence gets his memory back because they stick the thumb drive into him.
Yeah.
And so he gets.
They need to make sure Valence downloads his files.
So he gets his thumb drive memories back, which also he vaguely remembers who Hayden is because he sees. Because, throughout the memory loss thing, he's drawing pictures of his loved ones and trying not to forget them. He's like, just in case I do forget, I will at least put down everything I know now.
Yeah.
And so Hayden is one of those, and he finds a drawing of Hayden that he did, and he's like, I kind of remember her. And so...
Also, this is a weird detail to think about, but I'm like, so, about when Ajax stabs Scourge, right? You know, like, how he pulls the sword out of him, and there's this fucking purple aura of, like, evil nonsense? I'm like, that's not... Wait, so it's a physical thing?
I kind of already got that, because there's a lot of, like, Force meets technology sort of bullshit going on here with Scourge. There's something.
Yeah. It changed colors, man.
Yeah. And so then, that's it for the Dark Droids arc, essentially. Because Lando admits his bullshit. He gets
he's
arrested.
Going on trial.
Vader's going to have to deal with the Imperial Schism thing. Afra is teamed back up with Sana and Magna as a group of archaeologists, thieves.
Oh, yeah.
And they got a new job. They're gonna
Afra
faked her death.
Afra faked her death.
Because she sent the Dominus ship into hyperspace towards a planet, and she was gonna self-sacrifice, but then she changed her mind last minute.
Yeah.
And was like, actually, I'm gonna use an escape pod to get out of here. And then she stayed on the planet where she found some old Jedi texts.
Yeah.
And
she was like,
I could sell this.
I could sell this, but also, like,
Sana's,
she has that...
Also, Sana's made me a good person.
She has that, damn you made me give a shit.
Sana, you made me have morals.
You made me care about the future, you bitch, is essentially Afra's line of thinking.
So she calls Santa and is like, I'm alive, come pick me up.
Yeah.
And so her and Magna and Santa are now like, okay, we're going to figure out what this Jedi text is about so we can do some awesome treasure hunt because we think it has something to do with that. So that's the next arc for Afra, I guess. And then Bounty Hunters, we don't get a next arc. We get one more issue. And it's
crazy how Boba sets them up so they can get rid of this fucking Mega
It's so good.
So
So it's essentially a close to everything in the Bounty Hunters arc. Like the comic rather, not arc. The entire Bounty Hunters
Yeah.
comic. Also, we didn't talk about the best frame in the Dark
The
Droids
power
arc.
of Tuca cats and explosive grenades.
Yeah, when they try to save Valence, the Tuca cats are because Vokra basically volunteers herself, even though everybody's like, "Fuck off."
Everyone, we fucking hate you, Vokra.
Vokra, I'm going to prove myself to you.
Fuck off.
And so the Tuca cats come and they've got like the thermals with them and they drop them at the droid's feet and they cool explosion shot of with the Tuca cats and one of them flying. It's honestly great. But anyways, back to the final issue of Bounty Hunter. So it basically wraps everything up that it
Yeah.
could. Like we learn like it even wraps up the Cadelia stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cadelia is kind of adopted by Tonga and Laosha, and they the three of them set up. Well, not even adopted really. They kind of become business partners.
Mhm.
And Cadelia's like, I got all this money thanks to me working for Kira for a minute, and I'm gonna be a benefactor to y'all creating a new bounty hunter pub.
Mhm.
And so she's like, I get say in it because I paid for it. Because they were like, oh, silent benefactor. She's like, I'm not gonna be silent. I'm gonna have say in this. So Cadelia's got some character growth there because she kind of went from somebody that would tend to listen to what people say to like kind of becoming her own person. Because a lot of it was her looking up to people, even if very naively, like with Kira, and where she kind of just believed anything Kira was spouting. To kind of having her own personality, and so it's kind of nice to see that Cadelia does have that character growth. It also feels like Bounty Hunters is a jump of months because it feels like it happens like maybe a week before the events of Return of the Jedi, whereas everything else is gonna go back to like before that.
Yeah.
Because like it feels like this is a setup to the rescue of Han. Because Valence is still like, I feel bad for what I did to Han. Because Valence loves Han. Let's be honest. But him and Hayden now have a romantic relationship now. They
Valen's really hit her with, "You're a bitch to find, you know that?"
so they get back together. They pay off even the Han Solo and Chewbacca comic. And the Yoda comic, weirdly.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh yeah, it turns out that thing, why, because like Jabba's been like trying to, like, why does Jabba keep getting himself involved with droid affairs, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would he care? And it turns out he's looking for the perfect, like, droid, like, memory core to power his droid bodyguard, which it turns out is a mega droid from Yoda comic, because it turns out he stole, like, the last one that survived of the prototypes.
Oh, important note. The current memory core, right?
Is so it was going to be Ajax, which is why he wanted
Yes.
Ajax during the Han Solo and Chewbacca run.
It is not Ajax's core because Ajax is fucking shit
Yeah,
up.
he's doing his own thing.
It is, however, the core of one of Ajax's followers, Gertie. Gertie is the spaceship that failed in the first assault.
Yep. Because they pulled her memory core out of her and then put her into a ship.
Yep.
Important note. But yeah, so Jabba's just been planning the ultimate, because he's like, this is going to replace bounty hunters. It kind of is an AI debate of AI versus artist in a weird way before that really took off as a conversation. Because he's like, yeah, I'm going to replace y'all with robots.
And Boba's like, no, you're not.
Yeah, because so basically Valence comes in like guns ablaze and ready to take it down.
It's like,
And then Jabba's like, what should I do with you? Should I feed you to the Rancor? And they're like, that would do bad for the
It's
Rancor.
like-
It'd be bad for its stomach and digestion
yeah.
because of how much cybernetics is in this man. And Bo was like, give him what he wants. Have him fight the damn thing. Which Bo was like playing both, like he's playing both sides because everybody's like, why did Boba Fett help us? Because if it worked, then that gets rid of the droid. If it didn't work, then that's less competition.
Yep. Boba's like, I win either way.
So, yeah, so Valence, Tonga, and Losha all take on this Mega Droid, and so they end up taking it down on the while live streaming it because Jabba's like showing it off to the Pikes and all of his enemies because he's like, look at this thing that I've got, and now you're gonna have to buy it from me if you want to keep up.
They're like, everyone, like I think the Pikes are like, I guess we're gonna have to fucking
Raise
our payments to him. Meanwhile, Tasu Leech, we get to see him.
Tasu
again.
Leech is just impressed. He's like, Valence is a badass motherfucker.
He's like, that motherfucker is too dumb to die to anything.
But he's kind of like in an impressed way.
Yeah.
Like this isn't a oh, he's stupid. It's like, no, this man's, if anybody's gonna beat this droid, it's him. And so, yeah, he takes down the Mega Droid, and we get a nice little bow wrapped up ending of getting to see everybody kind of get their happy ending, except for Bosk, who's like, I fucked up. I'm on the wrong side.
Yep. Oh well.
So, and then that's the end of Bounty Hunters. No more Bounty Hunters. No more Valence. It's a sad that it's no more Valence, no more Bounty Hunters comic, but it's a nice ending. I think it's done really well. Ethan Sachs really knew what he was doing there. He wrapped up all the major plot points that were brought into the story, while also giving enough room for if he ever gets to convince Marvel to let him write more. So, Dark Droids arc overall, 7.5.
All right.
Is that more brutal than you were expecting? Is that what that face was?
No, I have a difference of opinion on the matter.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it at a 9.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it's because I'm comparing to, like, because I've put War of the Bounty Hunters and the rest of that trilogy, the Crimson Reign, like, and Hidden Empire stuff, higher up. And so I'm comparing it to that. So I'm like, comparatively. But as a standalone, I could see an argument for that. Like, if you just look at Dark Droids on its own, then yeah. I guess I'm just looking at the overall picture. I could give it an 8 if I were to be nicer. Like, if I was to, like, look at it just as a standalone.
Yeah, I am separating it from, like, the larger story. Because we do these in, like, big chunks. So how I like to think of them is, like, here is this season. Right?
Yeah. And how did this season stand alone? Like, would you be able to offer this to somebody who has never read the other stuff? And I can see, like, strangely enough, this is a weird situation where, you probably could get away with, like, just starting them here. There'd be a lot of stuff missing. Like, you wouldn't know much about the talkie and, like, that situation. And what's going on with Valence. So that's, I guess, the bigger issues is those two plot points are going to be kind of missing. But they do well enough at explaining most of it that you could probably get away with being, like, just starting somebody with Dark Droids. But then, I mean, it's already near the end of the runs of all of these, like we've talked about. Like, I think Afra ends on the next arc, so it's already done. I think Afra's done, like, in terms of publishing. We just haven't gotten the trade paperback for it yet, so that's why we haven't talked about it yet. And then, I think we talked about Star Wars proper is going to probably end at issue 50, as is Vader. So, but all right. Well, with that, I think we're out of time. So, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you really like our content, check out the Patreon, which is linked down below. Also, shout out to Jennifer Brantley, who's on there.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out our Discord, also linked down below, where you can become a part of our community. Also, check out our Twitch and Kick and TikTok, which is Escape Reality Films. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at caleb.lockwood, and Twitter at escapereality94. I think that's everything on that end.
Every Sunday from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time, you can catch some friends of ours over at Trials of Naboo. It's a D&D 5e game where we're going around town. Big problems, big solved. That Admiral lady, finally dead.
Hey.
Adarpi has successfully avenged her village. Meanwhile, the rest of the party is still needing to recover Pakari's artifact. Simon has become a babysitter, I guess, since I can't join them.
Yeah.
The good news is everyone else finds that child annoying, so once again, I've been forced into a paternal role. Which happens a lot for some reason.
Once again, remind them.
Yep. But you want to catch up on that, 5 to 7 Central Standard Time on Sundays, Trials of Nebu on YouTube at the Steam Dungeon.
Yep. And all the VODs are there, so if you want to watch them all, they're all there.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be everything. Next week, I think everybody's going to be excited about next week's discussion. We're talking about the final season of Bad Batch. So, see y'all then. Have a good one. I've spoken.
Y'all be safe out there.